Shabbat Shalom. The fifth book of the Torah is called Deuteronomy. From the Greek, deuteros nomos, which also means second law. And it's different than any of the other books of the Torah in that there's no new narrative content, with the exception of Moses' death at the end. It's basically a recapitulation of all of the laws of the Torah told to the people of Israel from Moses himself. The style of the book is different from the rest in that while the rabbis acknowledge that this book is separate from the other four, biblical scholars have shown convincing evidence that this book was even by a different author than all the rest. In Hebrew, the book is called Parshat Devarim, which means a parsha of words, which is ironic given by Moses, who said back in Exodus that he's not a man of words. So the entire journey of Israel through the wilderness is also a personal journey for Moses, where he resisted life's calling because he believed that he lacked the tools to then becoming the only mortal to compose words of Torah, to create his own Sefer Devarim, his own book of words. What's interesting, though, is that even though the Parsha is called Sefer Devarim, introduced by the words, "These are the words that Moses spoke to all of Israel," he never gets around to explain in this Parsha to actually explaining the Torah. Instead, he spends the entire time rebuking the people of Israel as if somehow he could not share words of Torah until he did so. And his first rebuke was, Echa esel levadi torchechem umasachem urivchem. How can I alone carry your troubles, your burdens, and your quarrels? Provide yourselves men who are wise and understanding and well known to your tribes, and I shall appoint them as your heads. You answered me and said, the thing that you have proposed to do is good. So one of the questions to consider is, why would Moses need to rebuke Israel before he could share words of Torah? According to the Rambam, there are two kinds of rebuke. One is when we see our friend transgressing or on a path that's not good, we should tell them. The second kind is what happens if a person sins against us or wrongs us. We're commanded to tochia, to reprove them and say, why did you treat me in such and such a way? This means that if someone does something that makes us want to disconnect from them in some way, we're commanded to try to keep our connection and address it with them, to be present with the conflict, to be present with our pain, and to let them know that the relationship is important to us. According to the Midrash, Moses began his rebuke with the words, Echa eseh levadi. How can I alone carry your burden, your troubles, and your quarrels? Because the people didn't trust Moses' judgment in case law. They didn't believe that he had the people's interests at heart. They didn't trust him as being a true servant of God. When Moses proposes that the people appoint leaders to judge the cases instead of him, and the people answer positively, Moses is hurt. He's hurt because he gave his life for Torah, to be a servant for God, and the people are quick to dismiss his role. On one level, in order for Moses to fully share Torah with the people, he has to address the hurt and the disconnection that he feels in relationship with them. And this points to an even deeper level, which is that the Torah is not about facts or information, it's about relationship. Another angle to understand this. Moses has to rebuke the people because they're looking for Torah in all the wrong places. The people think that anyone could stand and share Torah because it's just data. And Moses is saying to them, if you try to listen to the laws I'm about to share from an accumulation of data place, then you will not understand. You'll receive Torah through God's presence, and you experience God's presence through me. I'm the one who stood on the mountain and let myself be saturated by God. Only when you open yourself to my presence can you receive the Torah. Now, while the story we're involved in is about Moses' presence being necessary for the learning and experiencing of Torah, our lesson here is not that others don't have Torah to teach us. Others do have Torah to teach us, and us to them. But it happens through presence. It happens through giving our full attention and respect to the other. It happens when every fiber of our being acknowledges that the presence of God resides in them and in us. What deeper Torah could we communicate? Could we receive? The Midrash says that there were three that prophesied with the word Echa. First, Jeremiah said Echa. How does the city once filled with people sit alone? And we'll chant that at the end of the month on Tisha B'Av. In our Haftarah of Tisha B'Av, right before Tisha B'Av, next week, tomorrow, Isaiah will say, Echa, how did the faithful city become a harlot? And in our Torah portion here, the first time that Echa is mentioned, Moses said, Echa, how can I alone handle your contentions? There is a tradition that the first time a word in the Torah appears, it means that it's the most primal meaning of the word. And maybe that's what the destruction of the temple and what Tisha B'Av is all about. We're mourning and we're grieving, not about a historical event thousands of years ago, but about the way that we cease to see God's presence in each other. Shabbat Shalom.